you very much, Corla. And you said, Deputy, that this is the way the world is going, and obviously people would like to keep up with the trend, if that was humanly possible. But we're talking about electric vehicles and electric charging points in rural Ireland. They're, very, very difficult to come by. Obviously, if you left Gurtdublin, Goleen this morning, or Ardgroom, and made your way to Dublin, you'd like to think there'd be a hell of a lot more, or Sheepshead, you'd like to think there'd be a hell of a lot more charging points in them rural areas, as well as you'll see as many of them around Dublin and its surrounds, and that is not the case. Now, I will accept that will change in time, but it looks like it's changing rapidly in and around our cities, but not in our rural areas, to encourage people to use electric vehicles, which can be expensive if they want to keep up with maybe the grade of vehicle that they already have. But obviously, it's and I've had community and sporting organisations and to be in West Cork asking me, how much would it cost to put a charging point in their community grounds or their sporting grounds. And I suppose some people feel, is there a little benefit by it if community voluntary organisations do that, or sporting organisations do it? And I think that's a legitimate question. I suppose the people who have fuel stations benefit so slightly from having fuel. So maybe, Minister, you might be able to clarify that. But certainly, it's an area that we're a good few years away from making perfect, if it ever will be perfect. And by the time, you must remember, Minister, many years ago they were telling us that everyone should have diesel engines, and by the time people caught up with that, you moved on to electric. So it's quite possible that when we get to this fully rolled out, that people might be told electric is the wrong way to go. But look, we'll listen to the experts out there, but we hope that the experts know what they're talking about. And the problem is, a lot of people have such astronomical electrical bills in their house at the present time. It's a frightening experience to add to that by plugging in your car. And we'll be talking about our own motion there in a minute, where it's talking about people at this present time in rural Ireland that basically they are travelling in vehicles that have petrol and diesel, and most of those people genuinely can't purchase a new car. Very few electric second-hand cars are available, so they are caught in a trap, and that's where they will be for many, many years, because they can't afford to come out of that trap. They'd like to, and no matter how much grants you get, they wouldn't be able to afford a new diesel car or a new petrol car, never mind a new electric car. And I think that needs to be addressed going forward. And if you're going to take the VAT reductions that you had off the fuel, and if you're going to put on more carbon tax and NORA tax and this tax and that tax, you're talking about 18 cents, I think, between here and the next 6 months. That's an astronomical jump for people that are trying to pay out bills at this present time. And it's going to lead to a huge extra cost in food delivery for hauliers and for bus owners. 18 cents a litre is a shocking amount of money for people to come up, because they simply can't go electric. They can't at the moment because the infrastructure isn't there. They can't afford to purchase the vehicles that are there. So there's a lot of areas that prohibits people from using electric vehicles, that which everybody likes to change and keep up with the trend, but at this time in their lives they can't. And public transport in rural communities is a disaster. And I mean, well, there's a lot of proposals. We're working. I'm a volunteer member of the rural transport in West Cork. We're looking at doing a run from Ardgroom down into Sheepshead, which I welcome, of course, when it happens. It's a great idea, and it'll be running several times a day. But there's areas like Clonakilty to Dunmanway, several other areas in West Cork, and the Mizzen Head only has one bus leaving it in the morning and doesn't come back until the evening late. We're years and years and years behind in public transport. And you're going to have a clear understanding. There's no electric buses in West Cork that I can see. There's no electric, very, very few electric cars. Public transport is at an all-time low. There's a lot of promises. I often said, if you got €1 for every promise, you become a very, very wealthy person in West Cork. So we need a little bit more than promises, Minister. We need delivery of those services, and we need more frequent buses. And people say maybe they're not going to be used, but they certainly will be used if they were available. I can tell you, if there's no public transport route, we'll say from Goleen to Durris to Bantry any morning of the week, no more the week. So areas like that need to have a service, a proper service. So the people in them communities deserve every right to have a public transport, the same as the people out in Bray or the people here in Dublin, who get a service maybe every 2 to 3 minutes of every day. As I say, we're light years behind in relation to public transport. We're light years behind in relation to electric vehicles and their charging points in rural areas. I'm not against that. I just hope that, if it helps if you can clarify, as I told you a while ago, community groups and sporting groups that are looking to see can they get those charging points out there. How can they do this? How can it be fast-tracked? How can they maybe obviously be grant-aided, but maybe make a tiny profit from this as well, because obviously it's going to be plugged into their usage of electricity. These are areas that maybe would help going forward. I certainly would support that, but for now, we have to deal with what we have to deal with, and that is the only way for people to travel in the communities that I represent. 99% of them cannot afford an electric vehicle at this present time, and they're running on maybe older petrol engines, older diesel engines, probably cars in immaculate condition because they go through NCTs, but that's what they're running on because they don't have the finances to do any different than anybody that gets up and says different to that. They're in a slightly different constituency to what I'm living in, or else they can well afford to buy an electric vehicle. So this is areas, Minister, that I'd appreciate you maybe clarify going forward for the people of my constituency as to what your plans are. And where are the finances going to be put going forward in relation to public transport, in relation to roads. The roads are in appalling condition in West Cork. And so many people are absolutely furious, as to me as a public representative, that we can't deliver a proper road service. Never mind to think we're worrying about how electric vehicles and other vehicles will survive on these roads. Thank you.